think Swedish death cleaning is just another decluttering trend with a very dramatic and maybe concerning name. But here's what's actually happening. The Swedes have turned preparing for death into an act of love, and it's solving a problem that is getting worse for so many people right now. So you can leave it to the Swedish people to think about death, making it more comfortable than opening a junk drawer. Hey, I'm Robin, and as a former ER nurse, I have watched families navigate grief while simultaneously drowning in the overwhelming task of sorting through a lifetime of belongings. Pick up! He's driving me crazy. And think about it. A lot of us, we can either leave behind a bit of a gift or an unimaginable final burden. And the Swedes call it Döstädning, literally death cleaning. And it's not morbid, it's actual practical wisdom that recognizes, he's distracting me so much. It's practical wisdom that recognizes a simple, harsh truth. The stuff you don't deal with becomes someone else's emotional burden. And right now, so many people have inherited guilt because they are stuck with other people's sentimental items that hold no meaning for them. And I wonder if you're one of those people. And they're frozen in clutter. Döstädning became widely known through Margareta Magnusson's 2017 book, The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. But this wasn't Margareta's invention. Apparently it's been a part of Swedish culture for generations. I just could not find out how far back it went. But the Swedes approach aging and death with a level of practical acceptance that would make a lot of people pretty uncomfortable. But the crazy thing is, here we have whole industries built around storage units and organizing systems. But those crafty Swedes, they don't just keep things that they don't need, which I think is a revolutionary concept. Why didn't I think of that? I don't know, like, isn't IKEA from there too? But they do have, or I don't know. But I love this concept, so let's keep diving into it. Now, you might not realize this, but you have probably inherited this problem already. Just think about it. How much stuff do you currently own that belonged to somebody else? Items that were precious to them, but they feel more like obligations to you. Even, and this happens more times than I'd like to think, and I have myself even done it, someone who was decluttering their own stuff, but they went and brought a box over to you because it makes them feel better to declutter down to you than to just get rid of it altogether, which is very sneaky, and it kind of removes that burden off of them. But then again, there is the stuff that we've inherited through death. Your grandmother's china that you never used, but you can't donate it because it was important to her. Boxes of photos of people that you can't identify, but you feel guilty throwing them away because someone thought that they were worth keeping. And who are you to let it go? Books, tools, or collections that meant something to somebody else, but they just take up space in your life. The organizing industry has made guilt a commodity. But there is hope, because this is the hidden crisis that Döstädning is addressing. Now, in Swedish culture, keeping things that don't serve your current life, it's not honoring the past. It's creating future problems, and they will not have of it. And I like that because they understand that sentimental value does not transfer automatically from person to person. A lot of us here, we feel like keeping things shows love, but the Swedes understand that keeping everything, it just kind of shows a lack of consideration for the people who have to deal with it later. Again, this is not coming from a place of judgment because I understand how hard it is to let things go, and I will get into that in a minute. But the Swedish people approach, they recognize that your belongings, they tell a story, but you don't need to preserve every single line and every single chapter. They distinguish between items that truly represent your life and relationships versus items that you're just keeping out of guilt, obligation, or someday thinking. They've turned "what will people think" from a reason to keep all the things into a reason to let them go. Swedish death cleaning, it's kind of like writing your own eulogy, but for your belongings. You decide what story your stuff tells about your life. This cultural practice, it understands that death is inevitable, but that the burden that you leave behind, it's completely optional. And that shift in perspective changes everything about how you relate to your possessions. And again, I'm going to get into how we live with our stuff too, because it's not just about the people that come after us, it's about how we are enjoying our life too. Now, before you think this is all doom and gloom, fear not. Learning about Döstädning, it's actually not meant to feel heavy or anxious. It's meant to free you, to inspire you to create a home that supports your best life right now. And of course, not everyone in Sweden does this. I mean, again, IKEA exists, but some have figured out how to make decluttering feel more like an act of love instead of a chore, and that is something worth learning from. Now, there are 4 authentic principles. So first, principle 1, don't leave a massive burden behind. This is the core of Döstädning. Now, the whole idea revolves around reducing the emotional and physical workload for your loved ones. You are organizing your affairs, and you're not leaving behind decades of unresolved belongings. Think about it this way. Every single item that you keep without a clear purpose becomes a decision someone else has to make while they are grieving. And girl, that is just not fair to them. And honestly, it's not fair to your stuff either. Your sentimental attachment to an item, it doesn't automatically transfer to your heirs. It just doesn't. You're actually just transferring guilt. And that is the guilt of getting rid of something that mattered to you. So you didn't have to, you want them to deal with it. The most loving thing you can do is make the hard decision while you're emotionally capable of making them. And as a quick aside, I have made a video or 2 about this in the past, just a bit different. And I have had people who have been like, good, they should deal with it. And I just think that's the wrong attitude to have. And I know you, dear viewer, don't have that attitude. So let's get to principle 2. We're going to gradually simplify as you age. So it isn't about throwing away 500 things in a weekend. It's not about speed cleaning and speed decluttering. This is about gradually editing your life with honesty. This is traditionally something done over time for the Swedish people, thoughtfully, often beginning in midlife or in retirement years. So it's not because death is imminent, like let's assume it's not, but it's because life stages change, and why hold on to that stuff? You're building momentum by starting with the easier decisions before tackling the emotional stuff. It's like training for a marathon. You're not going to start with the hardest hill running up mountains. You build your decision-making muscles first. As I always say, just build up those muscles. Most decluttering advice assumes that you're going to live forever, like those ladies were attempting to, and death becomes her. But you know how that ended. We also assume we're going to have unlimited energy to maintain our stuff, which might not also be the case. So think about it. Döstädning knows that you're human. You recognize you're human. Recognize your limitations and the reality that's coming for us all, and just start slowly going through your stuff. Principle 3, though, is being honest about what actually matters. So a really big part of Swedish death cleaning is confronting our fantasy selves. And I bet you know what I mean. That is the version of you that was going to learn guitar, or take up pottery, or fit into those clothes from 2015. Keep what matters and not what proves something. That exercise equipment for the hobby that you never got off the ground, get rid of it. Those craft supplies for projects you never started, those books for interests that faded decades ago, they're not preserving possibilities. They are preserving guilt. Why would you do this to yourself? Just why? Why? That pile of clothes that you walk past every day, it isn't just taking up space, it's taking up mental bandwidth. Every time you see it and you think, I should deal with that. And here's one for a certain group of people, and you know who you are. The broken things rescuer. All right, now you might come by something on the side of the road, or somebody might be like, hey, how do you fix this? And you might say, I'm just gonna keep it and I'm gonna fix it one day. Keeping broken things, it does not make you resourceful. It makes you a curator of future problems. You are never gonna fix it. You're not saving anything, and you're adding to your own problems. You gave yourself more to do. So either I dare you to fix it today, and if you don't, just go ahead and let it go. Now, as a bonus principle, I'm gonna really suggest that you use things while you're alive. So this is important because the Swedes know that objects have purpose, and when that purpose isn't being fulfilled, both you and the object suffer. That kitchen gadget that's just sitting in your drawer is not being preserved. It's being wasted. It could be making someone's dinner prep easier right now, but instead it's making your drawer hard to open. Maybe it's a melon baller, and who knows, maybe somebody out there needs a melon baller. I don't know, I'm sure it's happened before. So if you donate it, they can buy that. This principle, it transforms decluttering from loss to generosity. Instead of focusing on what you're giving up, you're focusing on what you're giving away. You are blessing somebody else. So instead of thinking, I might need this, you can ask, who could use this right now? And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't recommend decluttering to other people. I will get into that in a minute. Instead, what I recommend is just donating it. Maybe books that you've already read are just taking up space until they find someone who has not read them yet. Keeping clothes that don't fit, it isn't optimistic. It's preventing somebody who needs them from having them. Items sitting unused in your home are not being preserved, they're being wasted. The best way to honor something that once brought you joy is to let it bring someone else joy. While you give things away while you're alive, you're actually getting to see the impact, or at least knowing it's having some kind of impact, that somebody is going to find that melon baller and is going to ball up some melons. You get to witness the joy instead of just hoping that it happens someday. Now, I cannot say enough how important this is. You matter, and you deserve clean spaces. Your home should give you energy and not drain it. So yes, I am talking a lot about the people coming behind us, but every item you own requires mental energy to maintain, to organize, to store, and make decisions about. It is so important how you are living right now, more than the people coming behind you. I think it matters that your quality of life is really good. So keeping things just in case often means living in a constant state of just being stressed. That pile of clothes you walk by every day, it's taking up space. It's taking up mental bandwidth too. Every single time you see it, you're thinking, I should deal with that. Keeping broken things doesn't make you resourceful. You're never fixing it. You're not saving anything, you're adding to your own problems. From my own nursing background, I know that your environment directly impacts your physical and mental health. Clutter is not just visual noise. It is cognitive load. Your brain is aware of it and it is carrying it around. So when your home is full of things that don't serve your current life, you're living in a museum of your past indecision. Your home should be like medicine for your mind, not a daily reminder of everything you have to deal with. I want you to walk in the door and be like, oh, and not just because, oh, good, like I'm finally home. I'm not on the bus or whatever anymore, but because you know there is nothing for you to deal with. Now, I think of myself as minimalist light. I have hobbies. I have things for those hobbies, but I don't keep more than I use, need, or love. When I say love, I just want to point out that means like artwork. Like, it's not about having nothing. It's about having what actually serves your life that you are living. I don't want you like getting rid of stuff that you use because one day somebody's going to have to deal with that. That's not the point. You deserve to live in a space that supports your well-being. You deserve to come home to peace instead of overwhelm. You matter enough to make decisions that serve your current life instead of preserving every single possibility from your past. Now, a few years ago, my brother and I had to deal with a very close family member's belongings after they passed away, and it was exhausting. And it's not actually because of grief, but it's because of the stuff. Before we even got there, I felt completely overwhelmed. This person had kept so many things, boxes and drawers with items that had clearly been moved from house to house without ever being sorted. But these weren't just random objects. They were emotional artifacts representing different phases of life, different hopes, different versions of who they thought they might become again or for the first time. We found an old photo album, which was incredible. It was full of black and white photos, but we had no idea of who any of the people in it were, which was really sad because every item and decision we didn't feel qualified to make that decision. And if this person had gone through at least some of their things beforehand, it would have sort of like removed some of that guilt because it's a huge heavy weight. And we would have to ask ourselves, was this an important item to them or were they just unable to let it go? Like I kept thinking that they lived with all of this stress, so that we could inherit all of this stress. And I understand that this person had not thought about it, but nobody wins. So we finally realized that keeping everything was not honoring their memory, and it was just perpetuating their cycle, their struggle of letting go. So we ended up going through and just keeping items that were genuinely meaningful to us, sentimental to us, and we let go of items and that just told like a random story that we just did not understand. We ended up having a company come and take everything away. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want that to happen. And there are a couple of features that I'm going to get to that you need to know about. But that experience taught me that Döstädning isn't about preparing to die. It's about choosing to live without burdening yourself or others with the weight of indecision. So here's how the process actually works. So Swedish death cleaning is slower and more reflective than a lot of other aggressive decluttering methods. It's not about dramatic before and after photos. It's about sustainable life editing that happens gradually over months, even years. It's fine. But the process starts in what the Swedes would call the easy categories. And this is what I recommend too in my decluttering programs and in my guide. And if you want my guide, you can go to minimalisthome.ca/blueprint, which really covers a lot of this, the same sort of like thoughts in this. So easy categories like storage rooms, garages, basements, and attics. These spaces often contain duplicates, broken items, and things that you have forgotten you ever owned. Now, I will say I generally wouldn't start exactly in the storage rooms. I would be like, start in the kitchen where there's usually a lot of stuff you can get rid of, but a lot less that's sentimental. But starting here, it builds momentum because the decisions are less emotionally loaded, right? Then you can move to more functional areas like the extra linens and the paperwork. These categories, they require more thought, but they still aren't deeply, deeply personal usually. And you're asking practical questions like, do I actually use this? How many of these do I really need? And here's a key, very important rule, and you might want to write this down. Don't start with photos or other sentimental things. Photos can stop the entire process dead in its track because you will find yourself sitting on the floor surrounded by photos, crying, trying to remember things, calling people. Do you remember so and so? Do you remember how they loved to collect elephants? Every image requires a story, a memory, a decision about whether someone else will understand why this moment mattered. So instead, build those decision-making muscles first with items that don't carry emotional weight. The Swedish death cleaning approach also includes creating what they call a throwaway box for deeply personal items like journals, letters, or private materials. And I have heard some very interesting stories, even in my own comments, so please feel free to share, but of very interesting things that people have found when decluttering. But yeah. There's an option, and it's this. This is a box where you leave instructions that this box gets discarded and not even gone through after you die. This reflects practical dignity, which I really like because not every detail of your life needs to become someone else's emotional responsibility. And I think that's a really freeing thing to do. Another thing I really love about this process is that it acknowledges different types of belongings require different approaches, which is so good. And you can just be very gentle. I think that's why the book is called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. It's meant to be methodical and slow. Practical items get practical decisions. Sentimental items get thoughtful consideration. And private items get respectful disposal. The Swedes also understand that this isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing practice of choosing what deserves space in your life as your needs and interests change. So you can start when you're like 25 and be like, I don't need this anymore. Or when you're 75 and be like, I don't need this anymore. You're not trying to achieve some perfect minimalist aesthetic. You're trying to maintain a home that serves your actual life. You know how you keep meaning to organize your photos, but you never do? This method gives you permission to start with the broken blender instead. Much less emotionally loaded, much more likely to actually happen. You build confidence with easier decisions before tackling the harder ones. Here's why this works better than a lot of other decluttering methods. So traditional minimalism often asks, how little can I live with? And you know I'm minimalist light. I'll get into more of that in a second. But Swedish Death Cleaning asks, what deserves space in the life that I have left? And that's a really different emotional tone. It's warmer, it's less rigid, and it's more personal. And you don't need white walls and 10 possessions. You can still love books, gardening, cooking, decorating, collecting meaningful things like I do. Not collecting meaningful things, but all of those hobbies. The point is intentionality. Other methods might ask, do you love this? But Swedish Death Cleaning asks, will someone else have to deal with this one day? Which is much more motivating, I would say that. Marie Kondo, she focuses on what sparks joy, but what about the items that are useful but not joyful? Döstädning works because it gives you the perfect filter. Is this something I want to burden someone else with, or is this something that would actually help them? That question cuts through the emotional attachment and practical paralysis. You're not trying to achieve some Instagram-worthy aesthetic. You're just trying to achieve peace of mind for yourself and consideration for others. It's not about having less stuff. It's about having intentional stuff. Döstädning, it's not about preparing to die. Please if you take anything away, take that away. It's about choosing to live intentionally, surrounded only by things that support your energy and tell your story. Your home should be a sanctuary that fuels you and not a storage unit that drains you. It's not just about decluttering, it's about creating a life where your belongings serve your well-being instead of demanding your constant attention. It's also a gift to everyone who loves you. But you know who had it tough but managed to shine in the face of struggle? Women during the Great Depression. They had to keep spotless homes with literally nothing. We're talking about women who made soap from kitchen scraps and created weekly cleaning schedules so efficient that they make modern productivity experts weep with envy. These weren't just cleaning tips, they were survival systems, and you can watch that right here. I hope something great happens for you today. Please like, subscribe, give us a hype. Stay tidy and mighty. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.